All right, GM. I think we're live. Let me just make sure we are live. And anyways, welcome to Farms of the Week live edition. I guess this is part three. Technically, joined here with Andy. How are you doing, man? How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Having a great day. Just came back from dinner, having a great time, ready to chat.
Yeah. So you had a few drinks, right? You had a few drinks. So
Yeah, I had
hopefully
a
we can
couple
get
of
some.
drinks. Yeah,
All right. Hopefully we get some, you know, hot takes, I guess.
spicy
But
takes. Yeah,
yeah. Anyways, obviously we'll collect audience questions. If you can just, keep asking stuff in the chat, I can, pull it up on stream and whatnot. But I'll just talk about a few, I guess, you know, questions I guess, collected from Twitter. And the first is this. So let me kind of zoom in here because I guess it's kind of hard to read. So, I asked these questions on Twitter, and Waj asked, the go-to strategy for any farmer recently has been to farm and dump. You farm things, you dump it, you realize profits, you move on. Of course, the idea of selling is an art. However, there are at times few occasions when it's better to farm and accumulate. When do you feel those times are best, and are there any farm and accumulate opportunities that you see right now?
I actually want to hear your take first because I feel like you have more experience with kind of like being around. You've been around like I think twice as long as I have. I think you've held tokens before. I've been very bad at holding tokens, so I want to hear your rationale, and then I have like something to say. But you first.
Yeah, so I think I'm more delusionally optimistic when it comes to crypto than a lot of other people. So in the last bull market, I would just farm things, hold on to it. It was like a crazy bull market, right? So I would like ride Jewel to crazy levels, like in anything, right? Like last bull market. This time around, or in the past year or so, I think everyone's kind of learned the game. They learned their lessons, and I think people are just more quicker to just dump tokens as soon as they get it, because people don't really believe in these things. One thing I was doing is I was, farming to accumulate, arrow, right? Remember aerodrome? I mean, we talked about this
Oh,
last couple of times,
this
right? Like,
this horrible fumble.
I know that was a fumble. Like my plan was to farm arrow for like 6 months or whatever, and then dump it when there's a Coinbase listing, because I was like, okay, like that's my exit liquidity. But it turns out that I should have believed a lot harder,
There was
right?
another 20x after the Coinbase listing to come.
I know. Like that could have been like I probably could have made like half a mil on that if I just held, but I think I like sold for like a little under 10K. So I think even if 98% or 99% of tokens deserve to be dumped, there are a few subsections that should be held, I think. And I am trying to get into more of that mindset. Even EtherFi, so that's something that everyone is like just dumping. But then, like what are the odds that a year or two from now, we'll look back on EtherFi being a good token? I'm not sure how likely that is, but that's something I'm starting to consider. One thing I am farming to accumulate right now, but I mean, this is points. Even if when I get this airdrop, I'm not gonna like dump it. Is Gyroscope? It's a stablecoin
Oh,
project, multi-chain. You can just LP or hold their stable, earn points. Pretty underfarmed. So I've been farming that for a couple months. They said that they're gonna TG in Q2, but I mean, it's Q3. They haven't done so.
Q3 is ending pretty soon. We're happy for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So they got so like in this proposal. So they posted a proposal on like the Arbitrum forums to get like Arbitrum grants tokens, right? And I think they said they were going to TG in Q2 so they could get like tokens. They got their tokens, and now you
Now
can
they have a
LP
Q.
on Gyroscope, earn some decent yield, and get points. But aside from that, like I'm not really looking into things too much. I farmed EtherFi, I dumped. I got Avail, I dumped. I'm farming, I guess, Symbiotic and Scroll right now. I'll probably just dump. But who knows? Like maybe Scroll I should like hold on or something, or even
Oh,
Symbiotic.
it's an L2.
Yeah, it's like an L2
It's an
token.
L2.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
all it
kind
is.
of how I view it. I mean, I've been rambling for like 3 minutes. Like, do you have like does that are you
Yeah,
happy
that's
with
a
that
good
answer?
point.
Like, what do you think?
I think like one thing about EtherFi is like I kind of feels very similar to Lido. I think it is PMF. I think it's a good protocol, but I think it's gonna be one of those things where like right now EtherFi market cap's probably like 300, 400 million. I think
Mhm.
the price will just keep on going down, but the market cap will keep on going up. So I think it's like a pretty good protocol. I think it's PMF. I think it's great. But I have a feeling that people who buy the tokens will just lose money. And then that's what I said like the first time I interviewed with you, right? Like the people who bought
Yeah.
Lido tokens could feel the pride and what's the phrase that Bill Blizzard said again, like many years back, like the pride and accomplishment of contributing to the greater good, but they're
Yeah.
not going to make any money. Like that's kind of how I feel about the people who buy EtherFi tokens. I think it'll reach PMF. I think it'll be like one of the big pillars of like crypto slash like Ethereum DeFi slash whatever, and I think it's like great. But I don't think I think the people who bought tokens will lose money. I think the people who invested and the people who sold the airdrop will make money moving forward, and not much for the token holders. That's kind of like my take on it.
Yeah, I guess it's like people learned the lessons through Lido. It's like Lido is a good protocol. It has PMF. Like they have 30% of all ETH staked, but I mean the token does not go up. Will it
And
go up
shout
at
out to
some point?
Nora. Yeah.
Do you think Lido will ever go up? I've been putting more work into it recently. But I want to hear your thoughts.
Uh, I'm not sure. I think it really depends on like how like the policy goes. My take is that like if ETH, like if the ETH ETF is allowed, like people who are holding this ETH ETF are allowed to like stake the ETH, like a portion of it to kind of like earn yield, then Lido is the technically like the quote unquote like beta play, right? But how I look at
Right.
it is like if Grayscale or like if BlackRock's allowed to like stake like $10 billion of like $50 billion AUM, then more realistically, chances are that they'll just stake it themselves. Why would they use
Yeah.
Lido? That's like a third party, like a secondary risk. So I don't really see Lido doing well like at any given point. I think it represents like a very core part of Ethereum culture or DeFi. So I think it's gonna like do like decently well. Like it's not gonna go to zero. And that's kind of how I feel about both EtherFi and Lido.
Yeah. There's so many LST and LRT tokens, and they're all somewhat fungible, right? I think when it comes to things like Aave, I think, it's like if you're putting a bunch of money into Aave, you have to be able to trust it. But with LSTs and LRTs, it's like I'm more than happy to sell my wrapped staked ETH for another LRT if it gives me more potential returns. So there's not that much loyalty, right? People are disloyal, especially in
Well,
the
it's like
LRT.
it's like a security thing though. Like I don't really feel safe like holding my ETH and like say Renzo or Kelp, but I feel pretty safe putting my ETH in wrap stake ETH or like EtherFi ETH. And I think that's like the value prop that at some point like you don't feel that confident putting your money into like a lower tier protocol because you don't know what's gonna happen to them. But I feel like at some point like you're like, like these guys are pretty like kosher, like these are pretty like blue chip. I'm gonna go with them, and that's their value prop.
Yeah, and
To
then
be
I
like
think especially, sorry, I think it's especially as people or as the ROI on like these points go down, I think there's gonna be less speculative capital to like chase these DGen LRTs with like like not so great teams.
yeah.
Yeah, but under the watch post, there was this Mr. Nocta, 0x Nocta here, said, honestly, dope question. Feel like Hyperliquid will be one of those airdrops that you don't want to dump on day one. You have a lot of points. Do you have any plans for the Hyperliquid like airdrop, assuming it launches with decent hype, let's say?
I have some internal metrics on whether I want to sell this or not, or like depending on price. And I don't think I should share it just because it's like my financial plan. But basically, if the price is good, I'm gonna sell. And there's like a pretty bullish price target that I have, which would put its market cap above ZK Sync specifically, which like below that I wouldn't sell.
Okay. And ZK6 like what, 3 or 4 bill
Like
FTV
three
last time I
bill,
checked?
3 bill FTV, like 500 million market cap.
Okay.
So that's like okay. I already said it, so now it's like a lost cause. Like if I'm like if
Yeah.
points are less than $10, I feel like I wouldn't like be that willing to sell.
Okay. Yeah, I mean $10. That'd be. I mean, I barely farm
That'd
this
be
thing,
great.
but that would be a
I'd make
pretty
a lot of
nice.
money, but
Yeah, and the reason I talked about Hyperliquid is I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are hyped for it. I think for good reason. I mean, the coins on there have done good. They have like the no VC, I guess, narrative, and also there's this recent token sale, Rage Trade. This happened this morning. It sold out in 15 minutes. They raised 6 million on Fjord. I mean, I remember Rage Trade a couple years ago. I was talking to Crypto Noodles, like the founder. They were like about to launch an Arbitrum as like a perps aggregator slash
aggregator, yeah.
like liquidity provisioning enhancer or whatever. And I guess they kind of waited because I mean they didn't really find PMF, right? I think they had like 2 million TVL back then, and I guess that was a good decision. They waited a couple of years. They're like, you know what? Like everyone loves Hyperliquid. Let's launch our aggregator on Hyperliquid, and they raised 6 million. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Like, what do you think of like Rage Trade? Do you think it's something that could do well, or is it just just degens going to degen on like another Fjord LPP?
I like Noodles. He's a cool guy. But the
Cool
fact that
guy.
this raised 6 million probably makes me want to. This makes me pretty bearish in the markets. This feels very toppy.
Yeah, I mean, What was the valuation?
30 mil.
30 mil. 30
Yeah.
mil. I wonder what they raised that originally, because I know. I mean, if you go
Like
to
12.5 mil, something like that. I don't think it was too high.
Oh, really? Okay. So, yeah, I remember looking at this cap table. I was like, what the heck? Why is Anthony Pompliano on here? I was so confused. I think there's like some other Bitcoin maxes on here.
Yeah, I mean, they're like a pretty. They were ahead of the curve at like many points in the time. Many points in time, like when they were making race trade, like their GMX like layer thing, they're ahead of the curve.
Right.
When they're making the perps aggregator, they're ahead of the curve. Now that they're like selling tokens on Hyperliquid and like launching a token, they're also ahead of the curve. Like there will be many other tokens that launch Hyperliquid with a pre-sale that'll do a lot worse. So how I look at it as Noodles is like really ahead of the curve. He knows how to find PMF. He knows how to tackle a niche market. But I don't think they've seen like long-term success. Like they've tried like various things and it hasn't like caught on for a long time. So my thought is that well, my thought is that it's okay. I think they're pretty competent, but I don't believe in their like long-term ability to be like relevant in their field. So that's kind of how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
of course, I'd be a little angry if the coin goes up since I didn't buy, but I think it'll do okay. I think it's fine, but like long term, I'm not too bullish. And the fact that there's like $6 million of capital to buy this coin makes me wonder, like, our market's a little too good. Like, are we topped? Because
I
Fjord
just feel like,
making 6 mil is like a lot of money.
yeah, and Fjord launches mostly have just gotten to zero, right? It's
Yeah, I'd say like a minus 95% is like a good average, like a median. Most are
yeah.
down
I
like
don't.
90%.
Yeah, there was like one good launch. I think Olas launched, like
OS
Autonomous launched.
restake was
Yeah.
early.
And then, well, now it's at zero, right? So I guess
Yeah,
it's like a trading game. Yeah, it's like you just buy, you hope it goes up. Just yeah. The way I view Fjord is, I feel like any super quality, like high quality team, maybe not all, but like the majority of teams that could raise money from, I guess, KOLs
has
or
no
angels or
business being on
VCs.
Fjord.
Yeah, yeah, right. So it's kind of it's like a negative. Like there's like some selection bias where only like maybe not so great teams will launch on Fjord. But I think yeah, Noodles I'm generally a fan of, but like they're trying to like build a perps aggregator. Like I'm not sure. I mean, I guess the benefit is if people pump Rage, then maybe they can sell Rage, invest
Yeah,
into
I think it's pretty
Hyperliquid.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's trying to be like the first fundamental coin on Hyperliquid. Uh, and if Hyperliquid does well, then maybe Rage Trade does well. And maybe like that's the bet that people are making. Maybe there's a bunch of Hyperliquid farmers that believe that they're going to get like a fat airdrop, so they might as well like punt on. It's
Yeah.
like for Hyperliquid to do well, they need Rage Trade maybe to pump, so they might as well just like punt Rage Trade, right, to increase the implied val of Hyperliquid, which is good for me.
I
I
don't
don't know.
really believe that, but yeah, I think makes sense. But
Yeah.
how I look at Noodles and Race Trade is that like I think Noodles stands out as like a very high quality like founder for things that go on Fjord. So I'm like very surprised he went to Fjord to begin with. I feel like he's punching down.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I feel like someone of Noodle's caliber, if he tried like a little bit longer, try like to punch up, he would just get like a private listing, and now it's going to trade at like 200 million, which sounds a lot better, right? So I think he was capable of that. I think he was very close to reaching that caliber. So I think it's a little unfortunate that he is TGing or like selling, having a pre-sale on Fjord because I feel like he's punching down compared to his caliber. But 6 mil is a lot of money, and I
Yeah. I
think
mean, good
this
for
is a
him. You know,
yeah, and the
like,
fact that it's not on like exchange where people just cheat. It's like on Hyperliquid where there's like real friction. I mean, friction. I mean, real traction is like really good. So I'm very curious to see how this turns out, because if this does well, then it opens like a whole new meta of Hyperliquid being like the hub of new tokens launching.
Yeah, and maybe Noodles, maybe he wanted the community to win, right? Just let people get in at a reasonable valuation, and if they are successful, they'll get listings. But I'm not sure if if
It's
degens
crypto,
have
man.
that longer time horizon. But yeah,
If it
I don't
goes
know.
up, he's a community man who gave everybody a chance to buy 30 mil. If it goes down, then he's a scammer who raised 6 mil. That's just how crypto works. So
Yeah. Anyways, I think we talked enough
yeah,
on Hyperliquid and Rage. I do want to talk about this. So basically, with farms of the week, I guess we'll talk about farms, our takes on the market, and I guess current events. Honestly, we're kind of winging these episodes. We're just trying to have fun. So let's talk about the farm. So we're the next farm. So Fuel Network. I'm not sure if you've heard of Fuel, but they raised like 80 mil for like 1.3 bill or 1.5 bill val a
1 bill,
couple
1 bill.
years ago.
I think 1 bill.
1 bill. Okay,
Yeah.
1 bill valuation, which for like a modular execution layer, I mean it's just an L2. But anyways, they just introduced points where you can just deposit capital, ETH stables and get points. I think today they announced, you bridge like whatever these things are, and then you can get like double points and whatnot. Have you looked
Yeah.
into Fuel? Like, is this something that you're considering?
So the problem with Fuel is that if you deposit and get points, if you withdraw, they rug your points. They take it away.
Mm,
So it's not like your points you earn. You need to hold it till like TGE to get your points. So that's kind of my complaint, because like points are very illiquid. It's almost like opting into buying a secondary like OTC market with best OTC market, kind of like with your opportunity cost. So I want to be very liquid in what I participate in. And I think if my points get rugged, if I withdraw, that's kind of like, that sucks. Like I don't have a choice now. I'm honeypotter for like 6 months or whatever they TGE. I think the news is good because, well, because I kind of like track the OTC channels, and Fuel was trading at a 50% discount to their last raise valuation until like last month. And then they announced this points farming thing, and now it went up to like a 25% discount. So it's up 50%. It went
there you
from
go.
500 million to 750 million. So like people are now excited. It's really good. So in that sense, I think it's good. I think their partnerships kind of like being more composable with symbiotic and all these LRTs, like symbiotic LRTs, mellow, makes them more approachable. I think people could kind of like stake and forget and kind of hope for the best. And it might be like a winning strategy or a good enough strategy. I personally just don't want to, because I'm very like, I like being liquid. I like being able to deposit, withdraw, whatever I want to do at like any given time. And their mechanism doesn't really support that. If they change
Yeah,
that, I think I'd deposit like, I don't know, like $1 million, like some amount of money, like some like considerable amount of money, because I feel FOMO. Like I think Fuel's not that bad, and I want to have like a little bit of exposure. So I put some money in for like a couple of weeks, see how it does, just withdraw and move on. So that I would like very willingly do if they were like more liquid or like more flexible with their points. But as of
I
now, I have
see.
zero interest because I will want to withdraw.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, the team wants to boost their metrics maybe so they can, I guess, I mean, for like whatever reason, right? Fuel is overvalued. Mr. DCF, look at the dump Manta took. Yeah. It seems like, a lot of VCs piled into these hot L2s, but now, it seems like no one really wants them.
That's why Hyperliquid is good, because when it launches at a high valuation, no one's thinking, "Oh, there is a VC that I don't really like that's on 100x," which is how most
Right.
people feel. Like
Yeah.
if
It's definitely got a
Chain,
stronger narrative. Yeah.
like even Chain, like it's like a community chain, is a huge cult, but their seed round was like 50 mil or something like that. So if it launches at 5 bill, then if you buy the token, you're like thinking like, I might be buying to someone's 100x, and that's not the best feeling, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of
I
how I
think
feel.
I think Smokey tweeted about this. It's like, okay. I mean, maybe I
Maybe
can't find
might have
it.
to scroll down a lot.
Yeah. But anyways, he was like, yeah, like we're really trying to build something here, but everyone, or not everyone, but people don't like us because we keep raising money and our valuation is gonna be super high. And everyone's like, yeah, just try to launch token low. But I guess
Yeah, just don't
there's
raise.
yeah. But I mean, if you're like a team and VCs are just giving you money, then I don't
You
really
take
blame
it,
these
yeah.
people. Yeah.
I like Smokey. I think he knows how to like build a community. He knows how to like make things work.
Yeah. And the vape to earn app, that sounds fun. I love these X to earn apps. I
Yeah,
think
it's just like funny. Like it's a really interesting way of like using crypto, and I think Smokey knows how to like use that virality, and kind of like knows how to leverage the community really well. Yeah,
yeah.
and like not that many people bought the 50 million round to my knowledge, so it just feels bad to buy, which is kind of like bad for having marginal buyers. But nobody has those
Yeah.
tokens for like 2 years, so it's not that bad.
Yeah. How about
I'm
this
looking forward
question?
to.
So I think Swell took a snapshot recently, and I mean, they. I remember last year they were like, "Oh, we'll do a token in Q1," and now it's Q3. And like, like, what do you think they'll? How do you think they'll do on TG?
I think Swell's a really competent team. I think they know what they're good engineers, but they're like when people ask me about Swell, I tell them the exact same thing every single time, which is they're a competent team, but they're always 3 months behind the trend. Like
So
they
are they
were like ahead
competent
of
then?
the what?
Are they
But they're
competent
good
then?
engineers, right? Like
Right,
they're like
right,
pretty
right,
cool.
right, right.
I like them. Like I like what they're doing, but they're always 3 months behind the meta. So that's kind of like what's bad about them. So I'm like, okay, like who knows? Like maybe it'll trade like 1 billion, maybe it'll trade 2 billion. I can't really imagine it to be more. I
Yeah,
think
it should be below Ether 5 probably, right?
yeah,
Ether
for
5 at
sure, for
2.
sure. Wait,
Yeah. So
when they were doing their like extended seed raise last year, were you like, did you get the deck?
me, I
Listen, I
know.
feel like we talked about this. Maybe
Did
it
we?
was like a passing convo. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
60
yeah.
million valuation. Everybody in the room was like, I would never buy Swell for 60 million. This thing sucks. And then 3 months later,
Really?
we're all regretting it.
Yeah. But this was also like last year, right? Like no one
Yeah,
really
this
wanted
is
to buy
like
stuff.
October, November, like right before crypto started like actually going up.
Right.
So we were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, like seed round, 60 mil, outrageous, unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're a good. I think they're a good team. I think they know what they're doing. I'm just a little. I think they're a little slow. So I have very high confidence on their ability to ship and deliver. I have very low confidence in their ability to like be to like catch up to like anything that's actually hot at that time.
Got it. Well, I mean, if you're farming it, then sounds like
I'm
they're not
not.
gonna rug you. You'll get to dump a token. It's great. Farmers stay winning. Or maybe not
I don't
winning
have a
that hard, but it's free
single. I don't
money.
have a single small peril, whatever they're called.
Me neither. Me neither. I did not farm this thing. I was more, yeah.
There are
I feel
shinier
like they're a
things
bit,
that are closer to the
yeah,
meta at any given point.
yeah. Okay, so I have other questions. Let's see. How about this one? How come the Mo token is not doing so well compared to other main chain dexes? I guess this is. I mean,
Merchant
there's
Pro,
a
yeah.
simple question, or there's a simple answer to this, but like how do you want to answer this one?
Well, I don't think Trader Joe is exactly ahead of the curve either. I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
I think they're like a good last cycle thing that like tried to adapt, did an okay job, but definitely was not able to settle itself as like a successful like rebranding or catching up to the meta. So I think they're a little behind. I think having a new token doesn't do much because I think the reason Trader Joe is like even remotely relevant now is because it has the listings from last cycle. So it's like there's enough liquidity to play with. Merchant Mode does not have that. Everybody who got merchant mode tokens got it for free from the Trader Joe like airdrop type of thing. So I think the cost basis are really low and everybody's incentivized to sell it. What else is there?
I mean,
Yeah,
I just think that like as crypto matures, as DeFi matures, there's less appetite for like anything that's not like a category leader. Like, it's like Uniswap is number one, and it's gonna be number one. So like, there's like not that much of a point investing in anything else, like in the Dex arena or the spot Dex arena, and like a Dex that just lives on one chain. Like how valuable can they really be unless like that chain is top three TVL or something along those lines.
yeah,
Um,
and most not even the top decks on Mantle. I think this the second problem. I just found a deck screener. That's why I was clicking. I saw Agni is number one in volume, and I don't think they even have a
I,
token.
that one.
And Merchant Mode just like does whatever. And the number three is Clio, which is like a million market cap token, which has half of Merchant Mode volume. So I think it's like a safe layer for people to farm with Like if someone's like, hey, I need to farm the metamorphosis like mental ETH incentives, and I need to add liquidity, but I don't need any other incentives. I just want to be safe. Then you kind of like trust Trader Joe, Merchant Mo to like deposit your liquidity there, but they give you like 1% APR, and it does nothing. So at that point, you're like, okay, so this is like a safe layer where I can deposit my money, but it does nothing.
Yeah.
It's not really useful. It's kind of like how I
Yeah.
look at it.
So before I pull up more questions, I do want to just share this one. This is a pretty decent farm I found. So this is Maverick protocol, app.mav.xyz. It's respectable TVL, right? And they have these Go pools on Arbitrum or mainnet paying a decent chunk. So I guess if you go on mainnet, you see that I guess there's this Mav incentives here. I think there's also Go incentives.
Yeah.
Have you looked into these? Like, do you ever farm LP like positions, or do you just?
Yeah,
You know,
I have a really minor grudge against them because I was like 50% of our TVL for like a month. But because Go was not added to their incentives program back then, I think it was like November 2023, I got 0
uh-huh.
points. So I was like, dude, I was like
Oh,
half of your TVL for like a month. Why did I get nothing? So I have like a minor grudge that I forgot about, but I now remember. Mm, when I look at this is interesting. I think it was ahead of its curve by a lot like last year. I think it's a little less now because like you talk to me like other DeFi dexes, and now we have like the Ramses type of like kind of like you set your own range, and then if you're in range you
right,
get incentives. Airdrome does that, Ramses does that, all the forks do that. So that's like the neo like the improved part of this because now people have the option to like set their own ranges and they get rewarded based on how much liquidity, active liquidity they're providing, which is like a lot more realistic, right? The thing with Maverick is that you set at a certain range, and then if it's like not in your tick, then you're giving money to like free, like this, like looking at this. It's like out of range, you put in like one side of liquidity and you get paid for free. I don't know if this is incentives or not. I don't think it does, but it's like very little. But like the point is like it's not too efficient at directing emissions or incentivizing the right amount, like the right type of liquidity. I think it's interesting because even if it's not in range, as like a protocol, like if you're like Go, like if you're like a stable coin, say like your stable coin is trading at like $1 and like 20 bips above. But like your incentive, your goal is still to like ensure thick liquidity at $1, right? So even if
right.
it's out of range, it makes a lot of sense to still give money to people who are willing to marginally buy the token at $1 to kind of like ensure thick liquidity, to ensure low slippage. So I think it has use cases. I think it's a little obsolete, but Maverick is the one that's kind of like ahead of its curve in terms of like implementing the incentives mechanism. Because yeah,
Yeah, I
like
mean that's kind of what they're doing here, right? They're like, okay, like we'll give tokens to people that LP below
who
the
provide
range.
liquidity at $1, yeah. So basically,
Yeah,
like we want to make sure that like Go does not fall below like 0.996 because then people will be mad, and that's what
yeah,
they're gonna doing. So
yeah.
it's cool.
And
I like
and I think this ties into the like this question. It's like what I mean, this applies to me personally as well. And whenever I talk
it.
to people, it's like you can offer like 30% yield on stables or ETH, right? Which is like really, really good if you think about it. But people are more excited for points because points could be worth 10
300%
million%
APR.
APY. Yeah, it could be, right? Like there's a dream, there's a hope. And like for that reason, I think there's no reason for teams to not do points or this airdrop meta. It's like the best way for them to bootstrap liquidity. It kind of raises their valuation. I think, hold up, let me, even like Elixir, they have like, and then they're also like trying to basically like you introduce points, you get TVL, you introduce more products with more points, you get more TVL, then you can like raise it a higher val. I think they raised at
Yeah,
a high val before they
yeah,
started like the
same.
whole,
I
the whole
put
thing.
so much money into this.
Did you
You
really?
can't, yeah, you can't fund this. I started farming this like early this week, and I put like a lot of money into this. So thank you. You cannot fund this. I am Elixir aligned.
You're Elixir aligned now. Okay, you're
I'm
like the
not.
other
I'm not.
KOLs
But
then.
I'm not Elixir aligned, but I have a lot of points that I hope turn into profitable tokens.
Wait, so they're trying to be like this. To my understanding, they're trying to be a decentralized market maker, and they're also introducing like an Athena competitor.
Yeah.
And like what's their end game? I mean, I guess you can talk to Cole, but like what in your words, like what's their end game, you think?
I think no matter how I label it, he's going to be upset because I don't think he wants me to call it a Athena fork, but I think it is.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. I don't think Cole's watching this.
Yeah. So that's kind of looking at like I think right now like Athena's kind of focused on using like Athena's focused on like exchange integrations for like the big money, like how to like make sure that this becomes like the decentralized like hedge fund money type of dollar. I think Elixir is trying to make sure that they kind of get like a very big outreach in terms of like the on-chain crowd. Like Elixir is like a pretty big powering engine for all the on-chain. Like I think they're powering like some futures, they're powering orderly, one of the two at least. So they have like some
Yeah.
presence on chain to like perps dexes. So they're trying to do what Athena does, except like with the high presence on chain, and then with like a guys slash like actually with a little bit more decentralization. So it's cool. I think it's an interesting experiment. I think because of the nature that most people will just call it a Athena fork, even though how much like whoever on the team will hate it, it'll just trade between like 25 to 40% of Athena's valuation. That's kind of like how I look at it. It's kind of like Renzo to EtherFi, right? That's kind of like how
Yeah.
you want to look at
Okay. So you're
Elixir
just farming.
to yeah,
You're like, you know what? Like, might as well farm it. You
yeah.
think you'll have a decent
It's a new
val,
shiny thing. Like
pretty low risk.
yeah, I want some points. I want to have a diversified portfolio of points, and this is
Right. Right.
something that I want.
Okay. So what are you farming right now?
Scroll, EtherFi, Aave. Now that they have their new Lido instance, that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
And
We
that's a
can talk
lot of
about
money.
that
That's
too.
really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I think they're. Hold on, let me just pull this up. So you're talking about this, right?
The Lido instance, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I mean the yield kind of crashed.
Is that three
I mean
percent?
it's 3. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
3
So,
now.
but it's like 3.8 minus 1.5, so it's 2.3%. And since you're using what do you call it?
Like
Efficiency
E
mode,
mode
like
or
E mode, it's
yeah,
like
yeah, keep on.
95% LTV. So you can do a 20x loop, and now you're earning 46% on borrowing ETH against your ETH on Aave. That's like, wow, like I'm using Aave, I'm taking zero directional risk, and I'm making 45%. So that's a steal. Like you should opt into this all the time. This
Yeah,
is probably like the highest, like lowest risk, highest return type of thing that you'll see. Is kind of
yeah,
how I
and
look at it.
this proposal for the next 2 weeks, they're going to give away 55 ETH to, I guess, lenders, and like this program will run until like early next year, and I think the ETH is coming from Lido and Aave's treasury, so they're
Yep.
just co-working on this. There's also going to be, actually no, this is not this. There's EtherFi, right? I
Yeah.
guess that'll be incentivized. There's this, right, with the Dina, that's going to be incentivized. So this is only going to be on mainnet. So, you have to have, some size, I
Gas is
guess.
low now. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like
it's,
one's
it's
way.
at 25 right now. It's
What's going on?
maybe people are trading the meme coin, like the new
Oh
donk
my
coin.
god. ETH is so back. It's deflationary, all
I
that
know ETH
stuff.
is deflationary.
Yeah, but bottom line is like I think there's a lot of opportunities to like kind of make money nowadays. What does it say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think the alpha is that like from what I saw like on Twitter and like kind of like it Aave governance. I think people are kind of willing to. I think Mark or like Aave as like a DAO was very positive towards you incorporating the symbiotic LRTs into the Aave Lido instance because all the symbiotic LRTs are actually wrapped like a vault for wrap stake ETH, right?
Right.
So like all the symbiotic you deposit wrap stake ETH. So I think they were open to using adding those things as collateral because it's effectively wrap stake ETH. And now you have like a possible avenue to farm symbiotic, which does not have a token, shiny,
With
mellow, whatever these
leverage.
points, with like 20x leverage. And now you're talking like that's a money idea. That's like a 400% APR idea, which is what I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to.
Yeah. And maybe, I think someone asked the question like Pendle ITs, like maybe, you know, there will be a symbiotic market, and who knows, maybe that will do well. I don't know. Okay, so we're like 35 minutes. I don't know. Like, is there anything you want to talk? There's some questions here, but they're kind of redundant.
Carrick,
Yeah, Korok.
Karak. That's about it,
Uh,
right?
yeah,
Hyperliquid,
that's
yeah.
Korok. Yeah, are you still farming Hyperliquid? They're probably gonna do more points after season one. Uh, Koroks.
Season
I
two
never
now.
farmed Korok. I was like, I don't know. I don't really get what they're trying to do. They have KOLs and VCs shilling it, and they have TBL, but I don't know. I'm not that convinced. But I mean, it's free money, right? Like you just deposit capital, you get tokens. Probably something I'll dump if I was farming it.
Yeah, I think it was good before because it was like the beta to Eigenlayer, and now the symbiotics out. I think symbiotics the beta to Eigenlayer, and Karak is
Right.
just like really iffy point. It's kind of like when you look at Renzo, you look at it as like a beta to EtherFi. So there's like this baseline valuation or like price you can like work with because you're like EtherFi is doing well, maybe Renzo will do well. But when
Yeah.
you look at
And
like something
yeah.
worse, then you're like, whatever.
Yeah. I think I'd rather farm symbiotic than Korok.
Yeah, same.
You can even argue that symbiotic might even TGE before Korok, and they're gonna and their point system is shorter, so it's like better. There's like opportunity
Possibly,
cost,
possibly.
possibly. I'm bullish Paradigm to give me a good airdrop. Please, Paradigm, give me a good airdrop for symbiotic. I need it. Starbase asks, at what net worth? I mean, this is very subjective, right? Because you can also farm on like layer twos and so on and whatnot. But I don't know, like, how do you approach this question? I guess like farming strategies for different portfolio sizes, I think, is like a better way to view it, frame it.
I don't know. I feel like this is a question that like I can't answer because by the time I started farming with size, like I already had size. I would say I feel like 100K is like not the worst to start farming, but like say you have like 10K, right? Or like you start crypto with less than 10K. If you have like $100, you should probably airdrop farms, hope something hits. But if you have like $1,000, then you can either try to airdrop farm or you can try to meme coin, and either is fine. But if you just make money in either, you should stick to that because if you went from like $1,000 to like 50K in trading meme coins, you shouldn't start like suddenly doing like farming. You should just stick to meme coins. If you 50x your portfolio on meme coins, it probably means that you're good at it. You should just keep on doing that. Somebody asked me
Yeah.
the same like somebody started like 20K, made like almost $1 million round trip that has like a quarter mil now. He's like, should I start doing like DeFi? And I'm like DeFi will help you, but at the same time, like if you're like already like pretty good at meme coins, like there's edge there. Like I feel like to start DeFi after doing meme coins for like 6 months, you need to learn a whole new skill set, and that's a lot of work, especially if you
Yeah.
think and you know like internally that if I start my portfolio again with like 20K, I can probably get to 100K again, and that's like a lot better returns than doing DeFi.
Yeah. I guess the best answer that kind of general like answers most questions is like just figure out what you're good at.
Yeah,
Um,
just do what
you
you're
know,
good at.
like, but like if you don't have that much capital, probably not worth farming symbiotic. Maybe it's worth. So I guess if you have to think about it in two ways because you have two resources, right? You have time and money. Both are very valuable. Um, Maybe whales, right? They don't want to go through their time is way more valuable. So they'd rather opt for easier farms in terms of effort spent.
Yeah,
But if you have less capital, maybe the expected value of your time is you can argue is like lower than that of whales. So it's worth doing Galaxy Quest or I guess like whatever those things.
yeah,
Like
they do end up
whatever.
paying like higher than like US minimum wage. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah. So you have to be selective. You have to just, I guess, pay attention. But yeah, like you have to figure out like what you're good at, I think. And the only way to do that is to fuck around and find out.
Yeah, fuck around and find out.
Yeah. So, okay, we're 40 minutes in. Let's go to our next section. Zero or hero.
Oh, we had this.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to make this a thing. I'm trying to make this
Yeah.
a thing. We're still episode 3, so we know we're still trying around here. But I have a few. I have a few topics. So I guess we'll go. Actually, do you want a zero or like, do you want a hero? You can choose which one.
Give me the zero first.
Give me the zero. Okay. Let me find this. Okay, I think this
I
is.
feel like I know what this is.
It,
Okay, this is not the zero that I was thinking about.
Wait, what were you
This is like
thinking? What
the
were you
actual
thinking?
zero.
What were you thinking was the zero?
I was thinking of like a specific DeFi protocol that had some questionable risk measures recently on a lending market. Not this, but this is like an actual zero.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. Actually, we don't spend too much time on this. Astroport is like down 50% today. It's not like their fault. I think um, there was like this, right? It's like a Terra patch something in April, but they accidentally reverted the install patch in June. And there was like some IBC bug. And then I think Astroport was the only protocol that had enough capital that anyone would want to steal. So, people just exploited them. So, I feel bad for those guys. But I think what you're talking about, it was actually, it's a zero and it's also a hero. You're talking about this, right? The lending
No,
market.
but this is a really good example of that. This
Okay. Wait. What's the other lending market?
I'll tell you after. We can talk about it next week, maybe.
Okay. Anyways, so this is a hero because we all know Humpy, right? By the way, if you don't know Humpy, he's like this DeFi whale. He does a bunch of crazy stuff, really weird stuff. He has his own token. He's like one of the biggest holders of Balancer, I think, or VeVal.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he basically has a bunch of like Balancer tokens, and he did a mini governance attack on Compound because no one is like looking at Compound governance, where he was like, you know what, like he basically voted, or he basically put this proposal, use his voting power to direct $25 million in comp from the treasury to his own, I guess, vault, and by the time people found out, it was like, oh my god, like it's too late. So people were really scared. Like, is he going to dump all the comp? Is he going to rug? But he did some powerful negotiations. And Humpy, the DeFi whale on Compound, reached a truce where he would return the 500K in comp tokens. And in return, Comp is going to introduce revenue share for their own token. So I just thought this was, I don't know. I thought Humpy, I kind of viewed him as someone that would like just, like do random like Balancer whale attacks with Aura and Balancer, but this is pretty altruistic. Like he could have just dumped tokens, but through like whatever means, he was like, you know what, like let's introduce comp staking, which I guess is, I don't know, like better for everyone, I guess. So good for you, Humpy. I'm very, very happy, or I approve of this particular governance stack. What do you think
I
about
think Humpy's a
Humpy?
troll. I feel like when I see him operate on chain, I feel like he doesn't actually care about money. I think he's like a lot richer than like the 100 mil that he is on chain, like in real life or like on this portfolio, and he's just like in crypto to like just to fuck around.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
this
he's
guy
just
this
like,
guy owns 18 million of Cream and 10
yeah,
million of
he
Badger.
buys like random governance tokens, tries to like take over for fun, and the bottom line is like, hey, what if you gave some emissions to my meme coin, gold? So when I look at it, like I think he's just like fucking around for fun. He's having, I think the things he does definitely could be a little questionable because he's basically like he's buying governance tokens that people don't want as they fade away, and then tries to do like a hostile takeover. And then he's just like, it's like, yeah, like I'm like just fucking around, bro. And then she's like steps back. So I don't think it's too malicious. I think he's just fucking around.
Yeah, he's fucking around
Yeah,
and finding
I don't
out.
want to do too much with him because like to like really relate it to him, because either I'm gonna like buy his meme coin and then like lose money, or I'm gonna like have him like attack whatever bags I like might have or what I'm farming, and then I lose money or indirectly lose money. So I'm not like the biggest fan of him, but his antics are pretty funny. Like, look at this. Like he he buys like 8 figures of a governance token that arguably nobody wants. Does a governance attack to steal like 25 mil. And he's like, oh, it's chill, bro. Like, I gotta give it back. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason to do that.
I wonder who he is. I wonder how rich he is. He must be a billionaire then in real life. He's
No,
just
I don't know. Like,
fuck-
I like him. I like his antics at least. He's
yeah.
funny.
I mean, it gives us entertainment, It's like there's
Yeah,
not much happening. So
he's a friendly on-chain terrorist.
yes. Yes. He's a yeah. Okay. Well, we're
Where's the
45
hero?
minutes in. Yeah,
Oh, there's no hero.
he was a
Oh, that's the
hero for
hero.
me. He's my
Damn.
hero. Yeah, at least for this week. So we
Okay.
got a zero and a hero. maybe next time you can bring some zero here, or maybe people can recommend other
Yeah, some
topics.
real heroes.
This was just recommended to me by an audience, like so someone that watches my channel was like, you should do a zero or hero. I'm like, okay, like let's just mess around. But anyways, any final thoughts? We're gonna wrap it up soon. Any final words of wisdom or alpha that you want to share?
I'm trying to think of any alpha. There's no alpha in the markets, man. You just farm points and then you hope that the points are worth a lot. There's zero
Yeah,
alpha.
yeah. And you hope the points will convert to tokens
Yeah,
so you can
I
dump
went
it and
from
buy stuff you
having
want.
300 transactions a day on chain to having like 10 a week. So that kind of like indicates how boring the summer is. I just see
Yeah,
my money set on Aave, EtherFi, scroll, like loop scroll, like wrap stake ETH, and then like get leverage points at EtherFi, whatever. Like it's, I checked and like more than half my on-chain portfolio is on Aave, is which like like, very heavily indicates how boring the markets are. I sleep
yeah,
well. I wake up, click, and be like, "Oh, good. Lido did not get hacked. So I'm not liquidated.
right. Yeah, it's
Back to Netflix." Type of thing.
back to Netflix. All right, I'll let you get back to Netflix, and maybe drinking some alcohol. Thank you guys for watching, and I guess I'll see you next week. And have fun farming out there.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the content. If you want more free content around crypto, DeFi, and on-chain farming, please check out the link in the description below for our free newsletter. Also, I run a premium community called the Humble Farmer Army, so if you're interested in that, I will also put the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.